Shapeoko Pro unboxing and assembly. Woo! Hey everybody, my name is Sam and welcome back to Samcraft. It has finally arrived. After a long wait and more wait than I was advertised for waiting for with waiting, the Shapeoko Pro has finally arrived. It's sitting here on top of the new CNC table that I built for it, and it's happy, it's giggly, but it's time to get this thing out of the box. Let's go. First and foremost, I need to get box number 2, which is on top, out of the way. I'm going to sit on my workbench, and we'll go ahead and open up box number 1, which is the longer one, down below. Alright, I'm set up here on top of a box so I can actually see you guys over top of this, because this is tall, this is big. This box is all of just about 5 feet wide and looks like about 16 inches deep and probably 16 inches tall. Alright, box anomaly object aside, let's cut this thing open and start digging in. To begin with, I'm greeted with a cool little postcard. It says, "Greetings from Illinois, USA. Enjoy your pro." Squiggly signature mark of a person. I don't know who you are, but thanks, squiggly signature mark person. Hey, let's put this over here so we can enjoy it. First thing out. Goodness gracious, this thing is heavy. This is the Shapeoko Pro base frame box. These are the aluminum extrusion parts and subframe. Here we go. Earthquake number 1. Here we have the Gantry. Easy does it. Don't break it. You bought it. Here is the end plates box. It's a nothing box. This baby's heavy. This baby's busting out a little bit here. That box didn't hold up too good in shipping, even though it was waiting forever. And these are the Pro Y rails. So the Y rails box. Why? Because Shapeoko. That's it for box number 1. Let's check out box number 2. Here we have box number 2. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what goodies lie ahead inside this box too. Alright, first up we have the drag chain. Then we have the controller box. Some more of that fancy cardboard. Alright, and then we have the XZ assembly. Easy, 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 easy. Here we have the router. Here we go, router. And last, the heaviest part of this box. I'm just going to dump it out. the hybrid table. Truth be told, I've been spending some time getting some pictures and video for Instagram before I start taking everything apart and putting it together. I've done that enough. I'm done kind of teasing myself with this machine. It is time to put it together. As far as instructions, there were none given in the box or with the shipment. There is a video put out by Carbide 3D that is the instructions as far as assembly, but they should be getting instructions later down the road. I was one of the first ones to get the machine. I ordered the day they released it. I was considered an early adopter through them, although that came with no discounts or benefits or perks, I guess. But whatever. And as such, I got to follow the video on YouTube from Carbide 3D to put this thing together. I'm hoping assembly is not going to be that bad because it's one of the selling points of the Shapeoko and the Shapeoko Pro specifically is that this is supposed to be very easy to assemble and not take days and days and days like other machines like the X-Carve is kind of infamous for taking forever to put together. That being said, that's enough yakking. Let's start unpacking and begin assembly of the Shapeoko Pro. First up is to assemble box 1, which is the base frame. Got a box of zip ties and looks like some wiring hardware. Here we have another little baggie of shroud hardware is what it says. The shroud. Look at that. So here was something I didn't know. Okay, stop the presses. Hold on. So here's something that's a little bit unexpected. There are tools to assemble this machine with. There's these little wrenches that are, you know, amazing, Chinesium. But there's actually Allen keys. So, rock on. I didn't know this was in here. I wasn't expecting it. So, cool. We have the frame pieces. And that is it for this box. There we have our 4 extrusions that make up the frame, or the base, rather. And then 2 sheet metal pieces that flank the frame right and left. We'll make sure all these standoffs are at least hand tight down on here. One was a little bit loose. And with these guys, I'll be able to estimate and lay out the base. One of the things they were specific about in the instructions are, you'll notice these are asymmetrical in the location of these tiny little holes. The single hole spacers go towards the back of the machine. The kind of little doubles together mark the middle, so singles to the back. Sorry singles, that's the way it goes. Shroud hardware. This is what we attach these black pieces to the frame with. And you don't want to tighten them down just yet. Put them on there and then back them out about a quarter turn. You want to still have the flexibility to move everything around and square it up. Alright, the next step is to open the Y rails and start assembling them. You have 2 Y rails that come with the assembly. The one that says Shapeoko Pro goes on the left. Set that there for now. And then the Y rail that has the American flag goes on the right. Or if you don't have stickers for some weird reason, the one with the wiring goes on the right hand side of the machine as you're facing it. These are assembled using these YX fastener shoulder bolts. And just like with the table base, you cinch them down and then back them out a quarter turn to let them stay loose so you can square everything a little bit later. And these sit on top of the standoffs. Next step is to go ahead and attach the end plates. Now there are 4 different end plates, but 2 stand out from the other 2 in that they have things attached to them. This top one, or the first one in the box here, has the homing switch or inductive sensor switch on here. That goes on the back right of the machine. And then the end plate that has the built-in bit setter as well as power button goes on the front right of the machine. This makes sense because these are also the wire rails that have the wires inside them. The other two end plates are just plain and they're mirror image, so they fit on there and no problems with those. You're also good to go ahead and tighten these bolts all the way down. And carefully pulling the slack out from the grommet on the other end of the rail. Here we are at the back side of the machine, and this is the end plate that goes on the back right hand side. This sensor sits on the outside, and we'll plug it up later. I am on step 4 of this process, and I gotta say, so far this is going very smoothly. However, I know I've not really done anything technical yet. I've put some bars down and bolted them together, so if that's complicated, I got problems. The next step is to take the Gantry? Is it X? The next step is to take the Gantry and go ahead and sit it on top of the wire rails and assemble it. According to the instructional video, this is the more in-depth, involved processes of the assembly, so wish me luck. It is very nice that they label all of these little bags. This one says Gantry shroud hardware, belt assembly, belt clip assembly, Y-axis carrier plate. This is very handy. Very nice. I don't know, it just about makes it useless to have an instruction manual, really. Between this and the video, everything's just smooth. So there, I just jinxed myself. Woo, okay. That's a solid connection there. Next step is to assemble the drive belt on the left and right side. Y rails, I think. I get these rails confused. The Shapeoko Pro comes with extra thick, big GT2 timing belts, I believe. They have these special little retainers, and you feed it up the first one, and then down, like that. And then you hold it down flat, and then thread the screw from this end to tighten it up. The first end you do is fine, you don't have to adjust anything, you're just clamping it down in here. Once you run it through the pulleys and then the motor, then you adjust the back one. Put it underneath the bearings, fish it on down to the back of the machine. And then, using a small little Allen key, fit it underneath the belts somehow. Yep, and then pull it up between the two, and then slip it over the motor. And then here at the other end of the rail is where you want to be more careful with how tight you put these belts. You fish it through the same way as you do the other end. And you want this just tight enough where when you pull on it, it just barely starts to engage with this little M5 bolt. So here, too short. I'll give a few more teeth, a little bit longer. And almost there, just a hair bit more longer. Not a lot though. right there, just enough to where it starts to bite in, and you can kind of pull it with your hands and then let the machine screw pull it the rest of the way in. As you tighten this, you want to keep downward pressure on this so that your belt doesn't slip out or loosen on you. There you go. Belts are all tight. With the gantry put in place and bolted down, now we can go back and lock down all of the bolts that hold the Y rails to the frame and the base. And we can also square it up. We do that by unbolting those shipping bolts, holding the gantry in place, sliding it all the way forward, and then racking the whole assembly until it touches both front end plates exactly the way we like. Tighten down the front bolts, move it back to the second set of bolts, tighten it down, third, fourth, and so on until we go all the way from front to back. Next step is to assemble the X and Z axis carrier. This gets bolted onto this little piece with 4 bolts. Something that was not in the video instructions is to remove this shipping bolt from the middle of this piece because it keeps it from moving left and right. I mean, at this point you'll probably know to do that because you did it previously, but it just wasn't in the video, so I wanted to point that out. With the carriage mounted, I can now run the belt along the X-axis here. One thing to note, run your belt and pull it up between these pulleys before you install your motor. Otherwise, you're not going to have any room for that. So we'll feed this through. And let's see. Let's let the sticker face up. Next step is to install some brackets that hold the drag chains. I'm here on the back, dropping screws. I'm here on the back of the machine, and this first one goes right here on the right hand side as you're looking at it from the back. So if you're doing this from the front, it's on your left, and it mounts just like this. Ta-da! To install the drag chain, you just slip it underneath the motor here, and you want it to wrap around. It's going to rest on top of that plate you just attached, and then it's going to go out over to the right hand side of the machine as you're looking from the front. It'll go out the right hand side. Here is where you also want to make sure you bolt the right end of the drag chain up. Make sure these go together, otherwise turn it around, you got it backwards. Next thing to do is to install the drag chain on this side. It mounts to the bottom of the bracket, and you want the wires to come out the top, just like that. And you've got to be able to bolt them here. So, good luck. We're all counting on you. The Shapeoko Pro comes with a 65mm diameter spindle mount. That's the size it comes with. If you're on the fence whether or not to get the Carbide 3D brand router with your machine, consider this. They have specifically designed or had this router made for them with a long enough power cord to feed properly through the drag chains and everything without needing extension cords or any kind of other creative solutions. So if you decide to go the route of a Makita, which I think is the one that also fits the 65mm space, probably you're going to have to add an extension cord and work out some things on your own at that point. So let's go ahead and unpack the router and start feeding its power cord through the 2 drag chains. So here's your manual plus 2 extra set of brushes. You've got 2 wrenches here. That's nice. And then the router. If you take a look at it, honestly, you guys probably can see as best as I can. This is just a rebrand. Carbide 3D has their little logo name put on here and all that, but I mean, it looks identical to the Makita. It looks identical to the Bauer from Harbor Freight. Probably the Avid Power from Amazon. The only difference, like I said, is you get a giant long power cord. So, probably worth getting the Carbide brand for the machine. Probably until you ever decide to upgrade to a spindle. I would just get this. Even when this one dies and I've replaced and gone through my 2 set of brushes, I would still buy this again, I'm sure. But I guess time will tell, won't it? Alright, let's feed this through the drag chains. Next up is a pretty big, cool step. Not that this whole thing hasn't been big and cool, but the next step is actually assembling the hybrid table, which is probably, well, one of the big things about the Pro over the original Shapeokos is this hybrid table. So let's go ahead and put that thing on. This thing's going to be cool. Can you tell I'm getting tired? It's close to 11 o'clock. We are on the home stretch of this thing. The last thing to do is the last box to open, and that is the controller. So let's get it out. Let's put this thing together, and let's call it done for tonight, because it's almost tomorrow at this point. Well guys, it is all done. It is fully assembled, but I am not going to turn it on. That is going to be it for this video. I am exhausted. I have been down here for I think 6 hours solid, and I'm ready to hit the sack and go to sleep. Actually, I think it's already tomorrow at this point. Don't let that 6-hour timeline scare you. This is me down here filming and stopping and filming and all that stuff. As far as assembly, this is pretty quick, and it's really easy too. So, cool. So remember, there is an official Carbide 3D assembly video, and that is linked down below for the official instructions as they are right now, early December 2020. My video is to accompany it, and I appreciate you watching it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love reading them. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time. in the workshop.